Hey everybody, welcome to the Future Stars Forecast on this 2-year-old Tuesday. We're getting right to it. I've got my very special guest and somebody I consider a dear friend, Cherie DeVaux, here with me to discuss a very exciting 2-year-old filly that she has that's going to be running this Sunday in the Grade 1 Frizette. That is a win and you're in for the Juvenile Fillies. So before we get to that, I actually want to tell everybody why we're going early, and I'll let you share why.
I have a root canal at 2 o'clock.
Okay, the reason. Okay, first of all, again, I'm so sorry you have to go through and get.
Oh, it's okay.
But it is funny because when I asked Cherie to do the show, and her response was, "Oh, I'd love to, but I have to get a root canal." And my first thought was, "Is she joking?" I thought maybe you would prefer a root canal over this. So
this is all right. You're always fun to talk to.
Thank you. Well, it's not going to be particularly fun, but it just does emphasize, as I told you, when you explained how your itinerary is going this week, just what a kick-ass chick. I mean, first of all, you have to go through that. Then you have to go and you have to train this, your stable as is, but then you have to fly up to New York. And then from there, you're going to go to the Tattersall sales.
Correct. And I'm not going the entire time, but just enough to try to see everything that I can see. And David, he'll be over there. I'm not sure how many books he's going to be there for, but he's boots on the ground the entirety of the sale.
And how often have you gone over there for their sale?
This is our first time together. David had been a while ago. It's been a few years since he's been over there. So he's revisiting, and this will be my first time over there.
Well, that's exciting. I mean, your barn has had success on dirt, on turf. So to just sort of expand also the books that you're getting these prospects from is very exciting too, because bringing these horses to America with different varying pedigrees is just something that I think can make the breed only better. Now, let's talk about a horse first before we go into your 2-year-old filly that you have now that's going to be running this weekend. And let's talk about Tarabi, because I think it's so exciting that you not only did you have this prospect who, I mean, she won her debut by 5.5 lengths. Then she ran second in the spin away to Echo Zulu. And she put in a really game performance running third in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. And I have that replay here. But what I was going to say is, I mean, for you to have just this first starter in the Breeders' Cup ever, and she runs in the money. I think statistically, I mean, to have that one bullet to fire and you hit on the board, I think is pretty exceptional.
Well, it's been a goal. I'm a year late on the goal that I had set for myself with her in having a horse go to the Breeders' Cup, but not just to participate, but to have a horse with a shot. And things were not exactly straightforward for her getting there. She had a leg infection out of the spin away, and we kind of had to push her to get her there, and she trained really well into it as soon as we got her back to breezing and going 2 turns for the first time and stepping it up into that type of company was a tall task. So she ran really well. I think that'll be the only time we see her going that distance or that route of ground, because she seems to have better form at the 7/8 1-turn mile.
Yeah, and that's what you put her in her first comeback race as a 3-year-old. It was there at Churchill where she ran second, and then she went ahead and won the Wilton Stakes at Saratoga. What was it about this filly that attracted you to her? I mean, she went for $240,000 as a yearling.
Well, the credit goes to David. Right towards the end of Saratoga, right before the Keeneland meet, him as well as many other bloodstock agents are working their tails off trying to get pre-scouting reports, and they visit every farm that allows them to come and look before. So instead of just going into the sale, you've got some idea of things that you like, and it's just there's so many horses there that a lot of bloodstock agents utilize shortlisters, but things do fall through the cracks. And even this year, there was a horse that almost slipped by, but David had on his book that he had seen this filly out at the farm and liked her. But with Tarabi, David had pinhooked the full brother Shivaji, I believe is his name, and he's out in Japan, and he's a graded stakes winner out there. And he saw Tarabi at Hinkle Farm and just really was impressed with her physical and her constitution. And she came to the sale and she looked even better. So, David is the one that gets all the credit for her because he had he had some connections with the full brother, and then kept an eye and made sure that to keep her on his list when she was at the Keeneland sale as a yearling.
Well, I mean, right here this weekend, running second to it's kind of fun. It's like her nemesis, Echo Zulu. Right?
I don't know if it's her nemesis because she's such a talented filly that we just are happy to be. That's okay. We're just happy to be second. It's tough. We had out of the Wilton, we were planning on running in the test, and as things happen, especially when you're a young trainer, you will have to learn to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks from her race in the Wilton, that Thursday, she was coughing, and when we scoped her, she had she had some issue with her throat, and it's a minor issue, but it just took time to heal, and it's something that could we have made the race? Maybe, but then you risk the integrity of her throat, which is a big deal in obviously in racehorses. So, you'll have to learn to just roll with the punches. And the test came up, not saying she would have won. She has an affinity for Saratoga. She's run two good races there. And Churchill, it's not making an excuse. I'm really proud of the way she ran, but I just don't think it's her favorite surface. But her comeback race in this race, she fires a bit more when she runs at Saratoga.
And do you think, in addition to like the surface, the fact that stretch is so long, do you think sometimes it just makes the horse feel like, where's the wire?
Correct. And it's hard to gauge, and I don't want to make excuses because I just have a lot of respect for Echo Zulu, and for her to come back and run like that is remarkable. So, I have to be happy and thankful for the way my filly ran, and we'll continue moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. And I gotta say, a big shout out to Gun Runner, a Breeders' Cup Classic champion, 2017's Horse of the Year. What he did this weekend is insane, and I'm sure that you can appreciate that being in this industry. The fact that, we saw there again Echo Zulu, who did win our NetJets Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. She was Eclipse champion 2-year-old filly. She was just one of his winners that weekend. In fact, she was part of a 3 stakes consecutive wins for Gun Runner, because we saw his progeny take the Seneca overnight. We saw the Harrods Creek with Gunite, and then Echo Zulu there in the Dogwood. It's really exceptional. And then again, what happened at Parks with the Pennsylvania Derby,
right?
And then in the Cotillion with Society. So just really a horse, a stallion to watch. Did you pick up any Gun Runners by any chance at the Keeneland sale? I know you guys were
They were hard to get. We have a nice 2-year-old. Her name is Vava. She ran second, her second time out, closing weekend of Saratoga. So we have a couple that are 2 and 3. The yearlings were a bit tough. But the one thing I think that needs to be spoken about is this year we've lost some either pensioned or just lost some really prolific stallions. More Than Ready comes to mind just because it's so recent. And then, so we need a horse like Gun Runner for sport to have something as the next coming of the next big stallion. And he's fulfilling that role quickly, which is really cool to see.
Oh, definitely. Suzanne, she wants to just say, I'm enjoying the chat. Thank you for tuning in and hanging out with us. Okay, let's talk about this 2-year-old filly, the Great Maybe, who, there was no doubt about it. She put in, me and my puns. She just she put in just a crazy good debut. This is a filly by Upstart who, $10,000 stud fee. You guys picked her up at OBS for $425,000 here as a 2-year-old. She's out of Pure Legacy by Simon Pure. Let's go ahead and take a look real quick before I play the replay. Sebastian also wants to say hi. Hi, Sebastian. Let's go ahead and take a look at this debut because it's just one of those ones where you're just like, okay, this filly loves to run. So let's see. I'm going to share the screen. And where's my, make sure I play the right replay. So this was at Saratoga also, where obviously people are trying to bring their best 2-year-olds. And it was a big field, and she drew the rail.
Correct, which it wasn't a surprise that she wasn't the quickest out of there because it's something she's just not done. She's really fast when she breezes. It took us a while to get her to break from the gate, and even when she breezed prior to her race, she wasn't the quickest out of there, but she's got such a quick way of getting herself underneath, collected, and moving forward. So I was not gonna lie, I was not happy about the rail, but it is what it is. And
right.
Javier actually had been breezing horses for me, and this was the first horse he breezed for the Saratoga meet, and he said he doesn't care. He wants to breeze her every week, and he wants to ride her in a race. So Javier having all the confidence in her, I think, made the difference too. He knew how fast she was because he had been on her throughout the summer. So, that makes a really big difference.
Well, you go in, obviously, when you're entering a horse for a main special weight at Saratoga, you think they have a shot. But did you think that she could win by open lengths like that?
No, let me just tell you about that day because leading up to that. So I had that filly, as I spoke about, the gun runner filly Vava, and she ran opening weekend, and she was breezing really impressively throughout her leading up to her debut. And this is at Keeneland, so she'd breeze 47-48 out a minute really effortlessly. And I brought her to Saratoga to run because she had been training so well. And at the 16th pole, she looked like she was looking for the oxygen tank. So this filly showed a lot of precocity. She showed a lot of talent. I made the decision at that point to get her up to Saratoga and get her breezing over the surface because I thought that was more important. Saratoga's surface is a lot more laboring than the surface that we train on at Keeneland. And Keeneland's an excellent surface to train over, but if you're going to run at Saratoga, it's a lesson learned.
Oh,
yeah, here. So I was saying I had a couple horses that day, some colts that just ran okay. Was expecting more. So my confidence was wavering a bit, and I just wanted her to have a good trip and have a good showing. And again, trainers, owners, jockeys, everyone has to manage their expectations. So my expectations were a bit under the bar of where I might have set them earlier in the day, but she just trained so well that it wasn't a surprise that she had won. But the way she did it was definitely pleasant to see.
No, and this is for Lael Stables, who, for those who don't follow closely, I'm sure you know at least the name Barbaro. And can you talk about your relationship with Lael? I know you.
Yeah. Roy, the Jacksons they bought Reagan's Edge, and it was kind of a test run. They bought her after she had run at Belmont July 4th. So, they agreed to let her stay with me and see how it went the remainder of her 3-year-old year. And she ran really well, and just started the relationship and working with both Roy and Gretchen and Doug, their advisor. And they've done this, and they have seen the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. Goes without saying. So, but the interesting, funny, ironic is David is the bloodstock agent and I'm a trainer. And I really have tried to steer clear of overstepping my boundary into his
Right.
territory. But before the March sale at OBS, they had reached out and said, if there was anything that we liked, to just go ahead and run it by him, and let's just see if we could get a couple 2-year-olds in training. And the first horse I'd ever bid on in my life was the Great Maybe. So maybe I should just stop at that.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So is there a story behind the name connected to you then?
No.
Okay.
It was from a book. I asked it. Gretchen was
okay.
reading a book, and it was in the book. So that's where she came up with the name.
Oh, wow. Look, that is cool. I mean, yeah, if you want to drop the mic there.
Yeah. I bought a couple other ones, but they're,
Oh my
coming
gosh.
along.
Oh, well, Willie would like to say, Cherie, I had 2 first starters after seeing a few competitive horses you train and have been betting you since. Good luck and God bless. And then Suzanne also is saying, I just shared this chat with a friend who is a fan of Cherie DeVaux. We're all fans of Cherie DeVaux. But thank you for sharing. And he also says, keep up the good work, Willie. No, that's exciting. So when did, after that debut then, you to go ahead now and go after this grade 1 in the Frizette, which is also a win in your in for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. How much thought went into that, or was it like a no-brainer?
Well, it's not. There are 2 races on the table, which is we have the Frizette, or there is an allowance race going 6 furlongs at Keeneland with a very substantial purse. And after the race, all of us had a talk, and if she drug us into this race and was training well coming out of it, we were going to try to run her in the Frizette. Logically, for a filly like her, any grade 1 placing at any point is a big deal going forward. So she's just trained beautifully out of her debut. So she made the decision for us. She had a excellent work this past Saturday, and she's shipping today actually to Belmont to run at Aqueduct.
How nerve-wracking is it to ship a horse?
Um,
Especially a 2-year-old filly.
Well, there's a lot more thought that goes into it, I think, than a lot of that people may not understand. Is just right now it's cool. The weather is milder. In the summertime, you have to work around the temperature, the heat. When you're going into the city, you have to plan your vans around rush hour and when they're going to cross all the major bridges. So, and then she's straightforward. Adrian, your DeVaux on the go is going to be there.
On the go.
And Martine Pedroza, who now works with me, he's going to be down there. We have a couple slated to run that day. So we're wrapping up our Saratoga division that was just up there until we could ship into Keeneland after the sales. So it's a lot of moving parts, and it's a lot of all hands on deck. We're stabled at Rice Road permanently. But for Breeders' Cup, we need to move out of those stalls or out of that barn, which when you have a base of operation, you get, you have everything there that you don't really plan on picking up and moving. So they did all that, and they're continuing to move today. And it's little things like she's leaving at 3 and leaving a couple horses with her so that you don't want to take her from one barn to the other with the rest of them, because you don't want her to get spooked of something or colic, or there's a million things. And then if you're going to leave one horse, you have to leave another one for a partner with there's a lot just little things that you try to factor in to make it as unstressful for them as possible. But like I said, I've got an excellent staff and team that works with me that like yesterday they were moving, and I thought, okay, I'm probably going to just drive them nuts. So I'm going to not micromanage, and I'm just going to leave and let them work. So sometimes you have to factor in your own shortcomings.
But see, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that you're, gosh, I mean, what is it? What time is it now? Yeah, I mean, you're set to get a root canal in about an hour. I mean, the fact that you still have to oversee all this stuff going on is nuts to me. As I joked with you in our text messages, if I were you, I would just like after that was over, I'd be like sitting in bed, sucking down like a freaking milkshake, or I don't know, maybe booze instead. I don't know what I would be allowed to have. Um, let's see. Oh, also, Willie also wants to say, putting a face and personality to the name. Love your show, Run. Thank you so much. Cherie is one of my favorite people. Wish you would ship a firster to Delaware Park. Money. Michael, my brother and I love Cherie DeVaux's Twitter post about doing the right thing always, especially when you know you could. Cheating. Go ahead. No, it's all above board. The DeVaux's. We understand what you meant, Cherie. Salute. Yeah, you know what? In fact, I have your Twitter page pulled up because you have so many fun things in there. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay. So let's see here. Making sure I'm pulling up the right screen. Okay, you retweeted us from Breeders' Cup. Thank you so much. Okay, can you see what I'm scrolling on?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so right there, I'm not going to make it bigger because it might take me off the page altogether. There is the husband, and David Ingordo. But one of the things I love about this picture, and if you all go to Cherie's Twitter feed, you can go ahead and click on that picture and you'll see it bigger. If you look at his vest, what does it say, Cherie?
David DeVaux.
I love that. I love that. So who came up with that idea?
Well, it's been a long running joke. When we first got married and I was starting my career, we did talk about changing last names and the implications, and we wanted him to stand on his own, David to stand on his own, and me to stand on my own, which in the very beginnings I was referred to as David Ingordo's wife, which I think I'm starting to get my own name, or maybe some people say that's Cherie DeVaux's husband. But the vest actually, and David is pretty stoic and serious, and in most settings at home, he's funny and we all joke and ask him. Reagan walks around and go, "Why are you so serious?" She's funny. But there's more to the vest, which you don't know about, and I have a feeling you're going to find entertaining, is we had all these funny t-shirts that we were going to put for him to wear. Like, I wanted to be a cat man, but I married a horse trainer. Behind every successful trainer is her husband walking the Jack Russells.
Well, that's right. I mean, they're pretty famous on their own now. You got Rupert and Reggie.
And yep, correct. And they're barking somewhere at some probably butterfly outside. So
I think they could get their own gear too, right?
Oh yeah, they could be mascots.
Now, as we're watching there, you see this horse giving you some love, some kisses. I tell anytime your name comes up in conversation, and it has come up in conversation on this show before, one of the things that I always say is that you just have a way with horses. It's almost this horse whisperer quality about you. I mean, you've grown up with them all your life. Your family's been heavily involved with horses. You're the trotters even, right?
Correct. Yes.
And so
I'm from the harness horse background.
Oh, by the way, do you still follow? Because wasn't there a big like record-setting winner the other day in harness racing?
I see it on Twitter. There's I can't remember his name. Bulldog Hanover, maybe.
Bulldog, yeah. Bulldog Hanover, yeah.
It's really neat. I actually just enjoy the sport is getting its own following. I actually told David there's a Tattersall sale at Fasig-Tipton in October, I believe, or November. So if anyone wants to join us, we're trying to look for a couple of trotters to mess around with just for fun.
That would be awesome. Do it. Okay,
I'm gonna touch on this video because
go for it.
Just real quick, but one of the things that most trainers, the thoroughbred aftercare is a big deal, and this guy just was placed. His name is Urban Recovery, and just wasn't showing he wasn't moving forward and developing to be a top class racehorse the way his owner wanted. And he's made it clear his business model is not to. He doesn't want him in claiming races, so he actually just got shipped up to my friend. One of my longtime friends, Danielle, we learned to gallop in my very early years together in upstate New York, freezing our rear ends off. And her mom owns a high-level show barn. She's a Grand Prix level jumper.
Oh, wow.
And so he went up there to get retrained for one of her mom's name is Leanne Kelly, for one of her clients. So we should see him maybe next year at starting at some of the Thoroughbred inclusive shows.
Oh, that's awesome. Because here's another picture of him.
Yeah, and that's Danielle's daughter, Giselle.
Oh my gosh, how sweet. Well, he certainly appears to have the temperament to be a star with a a partner, a dedicated partner in the show ring.
Yeah.
Just I love it to see this type of camaraderie, not only in your barn with your team, because it seems like you all have a good time. I mean, I know you all work hard, but it looks like you all have this, again, camaraderie where it's like a kinship, and then also with the equines in your barn too. I mean, how often have we seen photos from you or from Adrian just basically like plop down on the stall with the horses?
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and you've got it's so stressful, and I am so competitive. I'm like super want everything to go perfectly. And I was laughing. Reagan had our first volleyball game of the season, and I had to sit on my hands a few times because I'm just ultra competitive. I played volleyball, sports. So, but it's really important to not lose sight of we're all here because we enjoy it, and the horses are the stars of our life. So you have to remember to just keep that in mind and they're really what matter. And at the end of the day, as long as everybody's safe, the horses are back in their stall safe and healthy and happy, that's really what matters to us.
Definitely. Bobby, love Ren. She's awesome. Thank you, Bobby. Cherie, I'm sorry you're covered up, Cherie. Cherie, I've been following you and your horses the past few years. I'm so very happy for your success. You're an excellent trainer. Keep up the great work. So much more bigger things to come. Blessings to both of you and your families. I love the sport. Blessings to you, Bobby, and your family as well. That's very kind. That's very kind. So let's go ahead and keep looking at this Twitter feed because it's awesome. Inspirational things. Okay, so this is great, right? So it's talking about Reagan. So, it's not how old is she now? Was she
11?
11. Not every day the 11-year-old girl, is out helping to pick out $135,000 horses, but she's already picked out some quality stock in the past, so why not? So this is HIP 2489, a filly from Enticed First Crop, goes to Reagan and Gordo with Cherie DeVaux as agent for $135,000 at Keeneland, September. Applause to Jim and Pam Robinson's Brandywine Farm consign.
Well, that's a half of the weanling Reagan's decision.
About this filly.
And so Reagan has a little budget of her own from her horses that we have, and we just keep parlaying it. And so it was only fitting. Again, David out looking for anything. We have half siblings too, and so it's just real neat to bring it back full circle for her.
Oh yeah. Does she want to follow in David's footsteps as an agent, or is she maybe showing some inclination toward training, or is she just doing this right now because
Well, I'm just gonna say that she read the whole article of David's that you had shown earlier, and she was upset because they didn't talk about the future star bloodstock agent daughter who's better than her dad. So that's her opinion on herself, and that was her take on it. So I guess let it be. We'll be bowing down to Reagan.
Well, she's super smart. She's super pretty. Like she could do anything she wants to. I could see her on the media side if she wanted to. But yeah, to have already had success and to have two people who are such good horse people. I mean, just bottom line, again, you got that horse whisperer thing going on. You really know how to figure a horse out, not just from the physical side, but the mental. And that's something I don't think there's a few trainers who really are at that level where they can do that. I mean, a lot of them can train. You can get them in routine. You can get them fit to run, but not every trainer has that je ne sais quoi where they can really get into the inner workings of a horse's brain. Because I mean, a lot of times these horses can come across as insane, right?
Well, yeah, it's got to kind of there are things I don't find, and it's more of I don't find acceptable behavior in some of them. So, one that wants to go too fast or not, to me, and not in a negative way. It's not acceptable. We have to fix it, and we're not.
Mhm.
And there's battles you fight. And there's things you compromise on. So, it's kind of it's a language. People say love language. It's our language that we try to speak with them.
I love language. I love that. Right. No, for sure. So let's see here. Okay, here you go. Yeah, everybody, cut the rings of your pop and your whatever beverage
Yeah.
is
I
in
grew
this
up in
ring.
Florida. The sea turtles. Adrian laughs because our chorus did a song about baby sea turtles. They're so darn cute, and
Oh,
um, yeah. So that's been a thing of mine
yeah.
for a long
We
time.
yeah, we don't want those to get wrapped around. Let's see. Okay, I mean, here's another Keeneland sales pickup. A vibrant Lady Florida bred filly from First Crop Sire City of Light, who's there at Lane's End Farm. This is out of On the Trail by Bernardini, 385,000. Denali stud as agent. She's beautiful.
Yeah, she was really nice. She came into the ring late, and I myself, again, this is all new to me, was buying for predominantly the Belladonna 5 group. And she came in, and we already had a City of Light, and the filly's beautiful. And a
Mhm.
plug, there's still parts of her available. So just reach
Oh,
out to me.
hey. Well, I love her. I mean, I think she looks so beautiful, beautifully balanced. The angle's all right. Yeah, I mean, covers ground from front to back. The angle
Yeah,
of her shoulder is very appealing.
it's
Um,
hard. Sometimes they walk in, and you just have to do it. So
yeah. No, she's beautiful. So everybody, you just heard, if you're looking to get in, get a
yeah,
hold.
exactly.
Tweet at Cherie DeVaux. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. Oh, it's gonna make me do. No, I don't want to sign in. Okay, so now Twitter wants me to sign in. And so we're gonna actually just stop the screen. Are there any other like yearlings you're really excited about that you picked up from
Yeah.
from Keeneland?
Well, my brain is so jumbled, and we actually
No,
just
don't worry.
got the prospectus. There's a Constitution filly that is gorgeous, and it's funny. I just remember her, and there's no picture of her online, and she's the one horse we don't have a picture of in this newsletter for the Belladonna 5, and I can still picture exactly what she looks like because she's beautiful.
Oh.
Um, there's another filly, and I am a sucker for a light bay with the dark mane and tail with
Oh,
that
like
doe
Lady Eli,
face.
maybe?
Correct. So the gun runner Baba, I was in love with her, and we got a Uncle Mo filly from Woodford Thoroughbreds. Um, and I mean, but the whole group as a whole from start to finish is a really nice package of horses. There's colts in there. There's a really nice Curlin colt who has a lot of depth to him. Looks like a dirt horse, a lot of substance. Then we've got a More Than Ready colt who I thought was beautiful, and we're going to pay a lot more for, and he sold without reserve, and we got him for 80,000.
Wow.
Um,
And those are
we
gonna
have
be
a
limited editions.
exactly. We have a Warfront filly, who the dam is a half to American Pharoah. So, there's the fillies offer a lot of residual value. The Colts, obviously everyone's looking for the home run,
Yeah.
but it looks like it should be a fun group. And we are still, for that group, have budget to buy a few more. So, there's maybe 3 or 4 more that we will be on the lookout for through the 2-year-old and training sales as well.
Oh, that's exciting. Going back to the filly we just saw there, the City of Light. Does she have a name?
No, not yet.
Not yet. If you get in, Willie, maybe you can help come up with one. Michael McGuire has a very interesting question. He says, have you seen the latest World Horse Racing's video, How to Buy a Racehorse with Star Bloodstock? I ask because the video showed the use of analytics, and I would like to know your thoughts about the use of analytics in horse racing. Sabermetrics, Moneyball, has took over baseball. Do you see something like this rising in the use in horse racing? Thanks.
um, I did not see the video. I admittedly keep my brain is so focused on my own things that are going on. But I'm relatively new to the yearling buying, and I walk around with David, and I I do think there are some people, and I can say, you ask David what makes a good racehorse, and he's got the depth of the shoulder and the angle of
Yeah.
this. And I think a lot of that to people, to bloodstock agents, especially the top end, it's innate in them. Like they just see it together. And David, I can't take compliments, so I'm going to try really hard to say this without blushing. He's my thing is I don't have a big bank of knowledge for this, so I don't know what works. I don't know what doesn't work. But he says, you have it. You look at a horse, as a package if it works, if it's dirt, if it's turf, like you can look at it. And we all know that most of this, if you do well 20% of the time, that's top end of this business. So a lot of them just aren't going to work out. But if there's analytics, then I think it would open up to, or help. It can be a guide and a tool. So I think in everything, you can all use it in conjunction.
Well, yeah. And I mean, you had at a tremendously impressive rate, and you should be so proud. I mean, you do stand alone as Cherie DeVaux, the trainer, but the fact that also you are paired with one of the best eyes in the business, and David and Gordo. I mean, you guys are a power couple.
I guess.
I remember. I saw you at the Phasic Tipton sale. And I still remember when you were stepping down from like the cafe area in that blue dress. I was like, dang, she looks like freaking Wonder Woman up there. Like, you really did. No, I mean, you had the red lipstick going. I mean, you look like you were about to take someone out. I loved it.
It's a fancy time. We don't get to dress up too often, so.
Well, I mean, it's just so much fun though, these sales, and I always. To repeat myself ad nauseum, I always do say that before a horse carries a rider, they first carry hope. And the fact that you guys are out there day in, day out doing all this, and just hoping that what you're seeing can be brought to fruition on the race course and into the winner's circle. So, I mean, the fact, again, going back to the Great Maybe, you picking her out and then her not only winning first out for you from the rail, which is very hard for any first-time starter to do, not let alone a 2-year-old, but to then win by 8 lengths, and now you're poised to go in this grade 1. It's got to feel tremendously satisfying.
It's satisfying, but
You want more.
It's not that I want more. You sit and you go, am I making the right decision by shipping her up on a different track and going a route of ground, one turn? She's built like a sprinter. So you just want to make sure you're, hope that you're doing the right thing by the horse, most importantly, because we have to keep our own egos in check. Would it be great to win a grade 1? Yes, but not at the sacrifice of any of the horses or our clients. So for her, this is the next logical step. Going forward in her career as a 3, 4, and 5-year-old, it might not be her thing, but like I also try to look for lessons in other trainers or other horses. And we'll say Echo Zulu, for example. She won going long and going 2 turns as a 2-year-old, just didn't seem quite as effective as a 3-year-old. And it sounds like they're not going to stretch her out anymore, but as a 2-year-old, they might just be ahead of the class and be able to do it at that point in their career.
The precociousness, giving them that edge. But going back to just talking about, you look at these horses, as prospects before they ever hit the track. I do want to touch upon the fact, because I mean, I'm guessing, hopefully most people who follow racing already know this, but in case you don't, the most exciting horse in racing right now is undeniably Flightline. He is the highest rated horse in the world. And your husband, David, was integral to putting together the group who is in the ownership. And he had been, if you all go to Cherie's Twitter feed and read that article, it really goes in depth into the process of discovering Flightline. But if you can give the rundown of that story in your way and from your perspective, being along for this ride and what this means to you, being connected in the way in which you are and watching this unfold.
Well, David, like I said, alluded to it with Tarabi when he saw her out at the farm, and he says it's the horse that I got to have. And part of the advantage that some of bloodstock agents, especially located in Lexington, they get is they see these horses grow up. And he had seen Flightline from going to Mrs. Lyon's farm a few times, and with the scouting sales team for Lane's End. So he had gotten to see the horse mature, and part of being part of that team is knowing what the expectations are in the sale of the owner. And you know, Mrs. Lyon wanted a certain amount of money for a certain price, and I think she stayed, retained part ownership, and then you try to fill in the blanks. And at $1 million, it's very rare that horses work out that are that price and can be. But again, this is why the dream is alive, and ownership groups are pulling together to buy these types of horses is for this home run. So it is a huge risk, and it was not without its bumps in the road, especially with the horse getting hurt early on. And I just have to commend the Mayberries who broke him and got him over the healing of this. It was a pretty grotesque looking injury. And you know, and it was fleshy. It's in his hind end. You can see the scar. So they look worse than what they are, and they just take a while to heal. And then John Sadler and his team for harnessing. I was talking with Dave Grunning after he had won recently, and I said, I don't know if I would have the kahunas to train the horse. He's just so fast, and it's just so nerve-wracking. He just is such a high cruising speed. You know, and then you have a ownership group, which, you know, you have a lot of personalities and a lot of expectations and a lot of what everyone wants to do. And, you know, they've all been on the same page of putting the horse first and leaving John and his staff to do what they think is best for Flightline himself. And then, you know, you go to David and all this, and this is his second horse that he's bought. A once in a lifetime horse is what you call, and most people go their whole lives of hoping and dreaming to have just a glimmer of what this horse is. And he's had it twice and got to share that with Zenyatta, with his my father-in-law John Sheriffs and his mom Dottie, and their client with the Mosses. So I just think it's just a profound testament to and I'll gush because I'm his wife, but I'm just so proud of him and the work that he does, and I just have so much respect for it.
And he's so humble too. I think it said it in that article. He doesn't seek out the spotlight. You know, he's one of those guys. Just let the horses have it. And
Right.
I mean, you mentioned Zenyatta. I think what they got her for 60,000. If I remember,
I believe.
65.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. I mean, looking at the two ends of the spectrum, right? And you're right. I mean, it's remarkable. And I know the article also said he wasn't there to watch the Pacific Classic in person. I was with Matt and my little girl Ava and Kaiten Bradar and Larry Colmus and our friend Charlie, who does the camera for FanDuel. We were at a little Mexican restaurant, which maybe you know, I don't know if you went down to Kentucky Downs, next to our hotel. That's where we were, a little buzzed on margaritas, watching the race on my phone because they had soccer on the TV.
Yeah.
So we're watching the race on my phone together, and our jaws just dropped as he opened up. And the crazy thing is, I mean, thankfully, I mean, he doesn't need to be pushed, but he could have gone even faster.
Right. Well,
that's the insane thing.
We were watching it from bed because it was so late, and we wake up so early, and it's hard to get it's hard to come down off a buzz like that when something. And I just remember at the half-mile pole, and what the heck do I know? I was like, what is he doing, moving so early? In the horses, like I said, he's just got so much natural speed that it's just amazing to watch. And you sit there and I try to, you know, let David take it in and really encourage him to enjoy the moment. Or, you know, it is hard. You say something and that was great. Well, and he's just on to the next. And I'm guilty of doing the same thing. So I think we both try to keep ourselves in the moment and enjoying it as much as you can, because we know how it goes up and down.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, this horse is just so exciting. The fact that there was the article about the queen just days before
Correct.
she passed, wanting to know about this horse.
Yeah. Yes. It was, he's the kind of horse, as with, just the, is he's one of the greatest that we've seen. Not, I'm not a huge horse racing fan of the history of it. It's just one of those things. I enjoy the horses, and that's what brought me into it. I wasn't a fan of thoroughbred racing, kind of opposite. So, it just, like I said, he's to have a horse that's never been challenged like that is amazing. And the queen talking to Mr. Farish, or it's just, it's one of those things I think that would have to be a highlight of someone's life to have that kind of a conversation.
I know. And again, just days before she passed. I mean, what a true uh steward and fan of the sport that she's hearing about this and calling. And of course, Flightline, it's going to be really exciting when he does eventually stand stud there at Lanes, and I'm sure that book is going to be full like that. uh and Michael also, oh, John, thank you so much. He says thanks for another great show. I know you're going to have to get rolling for a root canal.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh every time. I don't. It's just like I'm anxious for you because I'm sorry. Like, it's gonna be fine.
Here's trainer life. I'm drinking a Celsius to stay awake. Going to get my root canal.
Yeah,
Then
what
I'll
time did you
probably
get
have
up
to. 4:30. It's fine.
today?
It's fine.
Okay, you will be fine. Michael, by the way, is saying Baid versus Flightline. That would be great to watch. I wish we could convince the connections of Baid to come to the Breeders' Cup Classic after their UK Championship, a race for the ages. I mean, at Baid 10 for 10, it would be really cool to see that. I mean, we've seen Giants Causeway, who was Cartier Horse of the Year in 2000. He came over and ran second to Tiz now. We've seen other really high class horses try the dirt in our Breeders' Cup Championships. It would be exciting.
It would be exciting. I would. I don't know.
I'm sorry,
if
I didn't mean to cover us up. Hi, Bobby. I'm so
no,
sorry.
It's okay.
Bobby, we'll come back to you in just a sec.
It would be exciting, but you risk. I don't know if they would want to put it on the line. They have this amazing grass horse to try to change a surface and come over here. I think there's a lot of risk in doing something like that. But if they did it and it was a showdown, then that would definitely be exciting to watch.
That would be exciting. Now, Bobby, I'm going to read what you wrote because otherwise it covers up the entire screen. He said, slightly off topic, just want to say, as a horse racing fan, I was at the Breeders' Cup in 2010 at Churchill. We did the horse tours from the Kentucky Horse Park, going to multiple prominent farms, which were fantastic in itself. On the way home, we stopped at Keeneland because I just wanted to walk around and see it, and it just happened to be during the sales. OMG, the best experience ever, and Keeneland does it right. I'm just a fan, not an owner, but every person should go experience the sale.
Yeah, it's it's actually amazing when you stop and look at it, and just the dynamics of it all and the logistics of it all. You've got all these horses coming in, coming out, everyone wanting to try to look at them, and then they're bidding. There's just so much going on and so many moving parts, and especially a sale like Keeneland with so many, and seems to go off without a hitch every year, which I'm laughing because those who are making it go probably are rolling their eyes at me like I'm being a jerk or trying to say to diminish it a bit. But no,
There's this great. Did you see that great photo? I'm sure somebody sent it. There's this great photo of like you and David, everybody at the war table, basically, like putting your notes together there at Keeneland.
That's our shortlisting session, and they do that. They go through every single page when David can join. But yeah, it's poor David. Most of he's surrounded by women and estrogen, and we're all tired and grumpy, and he deals with it.
He's got the dog. He's got the dog to balance it out, right?
That's right. He gets his emotional support from Rupert.
He's there, and again, it's sort of like the emotional support animal, right?
Exactly. He's actually, and to note, we've had the pleasure of we have young Bill Farish,
Yes. Oh,
Will, and
I'm
he's
such a
so
fan.
sweet.
I am such a fan. I told him, I'm like, you're like the heir to freaking Lane's Ed, and you could not be more humble, more. I mean, he's like holding the dog for you guys while you're, you know, doing what you need to do. But I mean, he's just right there in the trenches. And I love to see that because it tells you that he doesn't take any of this for granted. He genuinely loves it. And to have your husband, as his mentor, there at the sales and, and on top of it already being the son again of Bill Farish, um, he's destined for success.
Well, and he's learning the ropes. And again, he's just a great. He's got a great personality.
Yeah.
He's grounded. And then I don't know if you noticed, there was a big, tall gentleman with us with glasses, and he's. This is going to say Alec Head is he who just passed. It's his great grandson, so he's
Oh,
ahead, and
wow.
he's over with David, and he's learning, interning with David this year. So it's been. I actually enjoy talking with him as well, and just learning about some of the stuff that works overseas that with confirmation or pedigrees that doesn't work over here, and we're over at the sale when you're someone like me who's in the I don't study a lot of pedigrees that are not here, but going over to Tattersalls, there's things like if a horse needs to go 1.5 miles on heavy wet ground, that's probably not something that we should be looking at,
Right.
for us or our clients. So it's important. We have Adrian, so now we have Will, and then we have his name is Fernando. And I think it's really important to touch on that this sport only survives if we keep cultivating the next class and the next generation.
Amen.
And that can be anything. I have some young people, young adults, reaching out, wondering how to get in. And I really started from as a hot walker, just getting a job, and found my way myself. There's this common misconception that you need to know somebody to get in, and it's not. You just have to have thick skin, work hard. Nothing is handed to you. You have to be a sponge. And I try to help, especially women or young women coming in, guiding them, steering them. It's any business, I think, is rough, and I have a feeling our business gets a bad reputation. Would I say everything's been perfect? No, but I wouldn't say I've ever had anything that is off-putting. I get treated the same way as any other of my male counterparts. So,
Same.
I just one thing to touch on is I'm 40, and
I'm 43, so hey.
Well, but I look to the older generation, the olders, people who are 20, 30, 40 years older than me, ask them. But in turn, as again, we're stewards of the sport, and the sport doesn't happen if we're not bringing new clients, new energy, young professionals into it. So, it's just one of those things I wanted to touch on that, we David tries to do, and any of us who are in this or anybody who's watching that wants to get in, don't feel free to reach out, and don't be offended if you don't get a response, because everyone is busy, especially right now, but we do try. And if one person doesn't respond, just keep trying and be persistent. And, you're out there on the rail. If a trainer's walking with their head down with purpose, probably not a good time to ask them something, but just try to, if you see somebody, most trainers are happy to talk about it, because most of us really enjoy what we're doing and want to keep it going.
I think that's so important what you said, and thank you for basically putting that out there, that you're willing to help, if you can, in cultivating somebody's passion for this sport. I think it is so important. And when you think about just going back centuries before we actually had, the thoroughbred breed. I mean, people were still racing horses. I always joke about how during the Greco-Persian Wars, they actually stopped along the way the Persians did to race their horses in the countryside
horses.
So it's just like, I mean, it's just been happening. I would say probably for the first time that two different people could get on two different horses. They've been trying to see whose horse was the fastest. So let's keep our actual sport itself now that we do have this.
Exactly.
Now, I've kept you. You do have that root canal. I'm just going to say one more thing before we move on, and that's just to remind everybody about the Winning You're In action that is coming up this weekend. I mean, it is loaded. So October 1st, we've got the Champagne Stakes. It's a Winning You're In for the FanDuel Juvenile. We've got the Miss Grillo also. That's a Winning You're In for the Juvenile Fillies Turf. We've got the ACX Stakes. That's a Winning You're In for the Big Ass Fans Dirt Mile. That one's going to be at Churchill. The Awesome Again. This is for the Longines Classic at Santa Anita. The Speak Easy Stakes. That's going to be Sunday, October 2nd. That's my mom's birthday. Happy early birthday, Mom. That's for the Juvenile Turf Sprint, also at Anita. Looking back to New York, the Pilgrim Juvenile Turf Winning You're In. The Frizette featuring the Great Maybe. Winning You're In for the Net Jets Juvenile Fillies. The Prix de l'Opera Longines, that's for the Maker's Mark Filly and Mare Turf. That's at Paris Longchamp. The Cutter Prix Marcel Boussac for the Juvenile Fillies Turf, also there in France. The Cutter Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère for the Juvenile Turf. The Cutter Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe, the Longines Turf. And the Prix de l'Abbé des Longines, Longchamp, Longines, everybody, sorry, I'm going on. That is for the turf sprint, and that is all. But dear goodness, it is a loaded weekend. You can check all that out in case you missed any of that, or if I butchered the pronunciations. If you want to check it out yourself, you can go to breederscup.com, check out the Challenge Series races, and you can also check out the horses who've already won as well as replays. Cherie, again, you're one of my favorite people. Thank you so much for your time. The root canal is going to go as smooth as a root canal can go, and I'm going to be rooting for you. I'm sorry. I had to do it this weekend with the Great Maybe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. This has been your Future Stars forecast on a 2-year-old Tuesday featuring my friend, Cherie DeVaux. Check you next week.